I don't know if it's going live. This is a horrible camera. I think, no, I'm not going to fix it. This is Cynthia with Healing Holden again, and I'm so sorry the camera I got is awful to put on my computer. It was too difficult to get my handheld device, and then I'm having trouble with my LG. So this is what we've got, but the information I've got, I'm hoping you'll at least be able to see the test results, if nothing else. Shoot. All right, well, let me catch you up. Holden is still having his tics, and they don't seem to be going away even with treatment. So one of the things that Dr. Osborne has on his litany of tests, and for those of you who haven't been on Healing Holden before, this is about our journey with helping our autistic son recover. And one of the things that he developed last year, the summer that I moved into this house, because I was kind of escaping a house with pesticide poisoning, I moved into this old Montrose bungalow. It was nice and spacious, you know, spacious it is. And it was in the right school for Holden because he wanted to go to a Chinese, or it was in the right school district rather, so he could go to the Chinese immersion schools, or at least one of the schools that teach Chinese. So anyway, long story short, I'm here now. And about a few months before summer last year, I had a possum climb in underneath the house and kind of get into the wall close to the bathtub, kind of underneath the bathtub and in the wall that's right against the bathtub and where the pipes are. So I don't know what happened there. I talked to the landlord because I'm renting, and he just kind of boarded up pretty shoddily the openings with some wire, some chicken, or, you know, some mesh and bricks and cinder blocks, and that was pretty much it. But now I'm seeing another opening somewhere else, and I just finally put two and two together. So if you haven't been watching my videos, let me recap a few of them. A lot of the tics that Holden experienced when he was 5, where his arm was shooting out and his face was scrunching up, had to do with toxins, toxic overload in his body, and they were just basically wreaking havoc on his nervous system and his brain. So it seemed like he was having an overabundance of toxins again, and I didn't know where it was coming from. And we were, you know, right now we're in the middle of chelating him again. We fixed his gut bugs. So I'm like, what gives? Why is he having so much trouble? Because his tics are loud, y'all. And they started to get so bad, it was like bending half of his body, and he chomps and bites down, and he had bruxism, which is usually a yeast overgrowth, but really all it boils down to, and I'm going to be guilty of sounding like a hippie here, but it boils down to toxic buildup in your body. And whether it's yeast producing it or an overabundance of a bad bacteria, or rather any kind of imbalance, any kind of overabundance of yeast or bacteria can produce toxins faster than your body can remove them. Same thing with like chemical sensitivities. So if you are sensitive to a chemical or an herb or a food or whatever, you're going to have inflammation, you're going to have toxic overload, metal poisoning, all kinds of things like that. So what this boils down to is from whatever source you're getting it from, it's toxins causing these tics. So anyway, I'm sorry, I'm all over the place. Let me recap. So this animal crawled into my wall. It went away for a little while after the landlord boarded it up, but it came back. So that was about a few months before summer last year. And then suddenly summer, in the middle of July, I have Holden for the month of July. And his dad's birthday is right in the middle of that month. So he goes with his dad on his birthday. And because his dad asked for the time, and I'm not going to fight him. So, and that's like in the custody law, you can ask for a weekend when the other parent has them for a month if you're within a certain distance. Anyway, long story short, his dad moved into the same neighborhood. We're in the Montrose area in Houston, which is a ton of old houses and old apartment complexes, usually superficially renovated. And if you know anything about Houston, you know we've had hurricanes and floods, and that's like what we're used to. It's a lot like Louisiana. This is swamp country, so there's mold everywhere. And there's a lot of homes that have to be remediated for mold. At any rate, one of the things that uh, I noticed, well, Holden started to have some more behavioral issues then. He was about to be kicked out of summer camp. There was like the Dragon Academy summer camp where it was all like neurotypical kids. So when he acted badly, and he wasn't really acting that bad, they were like, we know he's autistic, but we're not built for autistic behavior, so he may have to go. Thankfully, he didn't get kicked out, but it was close. And I didn't know why he was behaving so badly. And then he started having like OCD behavior, like he nearly bored a hole through his shoe, like stepping on his shoe and stepping on his shoe in one particular place over and over again. And then let me put this down. He started having verbal tics, vocal tics. So like tons of them. I mean, it was so bad that if everything's quiet, he was fine. But if a bird squawked, if a baby cried, if a dog barked, if the cat made a sound, I mean, and he would repeat it, do it 10 times as loud, and then get so frustrated because of all his tics, he'd tell it to shut up. And they'd tell the dog, I'm going to kill you. You can't do that. So even things as, I mean, if you've ever seen the movie As Good as It Gets, this is typical OCD. Like if he drops something on the floor, he asks me to pick it up because he's like, I can't pick it up. And it's almost like his brain won't let his body pick it up without having a tic. So he'll pick it up and then he'll go, it fell. So he actually got pretty clever. I pulled out his grandma's grabber. His grandma has like a little grabber that, you know, is for elderly people or people who are not that mobile. And it has a little trigger that will clamp a claw so that she can grab things at a distance. So I was going to give it away to our neighbors, and Holden's like, no, I can use that. So he's using that instead so he can keep this tic from happening. But it's really debilitating, this OCD and this tic that he has. It's just, we had to sit in a separate room in church. It's just, you know, and who wants to be around that all the time? And it drives me nuts, and it drives his teachers nuts, and his, you know, the students think he can control it, and he can't. If he tries to stuff it in for the day at school, when he comes home, it's like all of the flood that he's been holding back, the floodgates open and it all comes out. So anyway, it finally dawned on me recently when I started to notice that there's a crack opening up in the wall by the bathtub. And I started kind of trying to caulk it and fix it and kind of look and see what was happening. And then I noticed that the floorboard, when I was cleaning a spot off, the paint was just coming right off and the wood was rotten. So like soft, you know, it's not gross, it's just wet and clearly like I can push it in. So, I mean, kind of like, you know, not like, ew, I stuck my fingers straight into it, now it's covered in goo. It's just like a wet piece of wood that's been wet for a long time. And it's almost like pushing a sponge in, a real hard sponge. Anyway, so it finally dawned on me. And one of Dr. Osborne's tests he always says to get is the ERMI test, which stands for, I had to look it up so I could tell you what it stands for because I always forget. What is an ERMI or hurts me? ERMI, E-R-M-I, stands for Environmental Relative Mold Index. The ERMI test was developed by scientists at the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency. An ERMI test is a standardized objective test used to quantify the indoor mold burden on a building. The ERMI test looks for the DNA of mold in the dust sample that you send to a lab. So I just had like a little Swiffer rag and went around cleaning up the dust from different rooms in my house. Molds that cause health problems are listed in group 1. There's 26 types on the ERMI report, and molds that don't have health problems are listed in group 2. So there's a little, if you look up ERMI tests, there's understanding ERMI scores, understanding hurts me scores. It's funny. It's HERTSMI. Hurts me. I don't know what that hurts me. Anyway. Anyway, this is chronic inflammatory response syndromes that this will cause. So it shows you like what the different mold spores are and how to grade them so that you can kind of read the test. So you can always get an ARMY test online. I had it done by Dr. Osborne. Not a cheap thing, but very well worth it, because if I can get rid of his ticks, I will go through hell and high water. So anyway, so this is what happened in Holden's case. I've been trying to print it, but my printer's old. Everything's old, y'all. I already told y'all I can't afford anything because of all this stuff I have to pay for autism. But anyway, this is, I'm gonna get the camera on. This is what an ARMY test result looks like. Let's see, there we go. Oh no, it's gonna be super cloudy. Crap. Well, so here is, let's see, is my finger showing up anywhere? Yeah, there we go. Here's the high at 20. No, man, there's no way you're going to be able to see that. Okay, well, that's 20. And here's 1. The house is over here at 18, and it's supposed to be over here at like 3. So we have lots of toxic mold, guys. It's not the black mold, thankfully, because that you could probably see. But anyway, so let me go over what Dr. Osborne was saying. He said, okay, there's a few here that were really concerning to him. One of them was Aspergillus versicolor, which is at 210. And he was saying it can be very toxic to humans. And then I'm gonna get into light. Does that help? No, not really. The Aspergillus penicilloides was at 1600, and it can shut down kidneys and cause immune problems. Great. And he's actually been complaining about his back right next to his kidney. So I'm like, oh God, we got to get out of here. There's also, what is it? Orobrazidium Oreobasidium pullulans. And that was also a bad one that was high here. Let me see if I can find it. Chaetomium globosum. That was high. It's relatively high because it's one that affects a person really badly. So you want that to be super low. So we have it pretty high. And then he said the worst one was the Wallinia sebi, and it's at 450. 25 and over is elevated. So it's like over the top and exponentially. So we got to go. There's no black mold, but there's tons of water loving mold. So no surprise after I found that wet wood. So it's very possible that maybe, because Holden wasn't having a problem until the summer that animal came in. I'd been there since Thanksgiving. And so we had been here for quite a few months, December, January, February, March, April, May, June, July. So about 8 months before things started to happen with Holden. So I think it was the heat coupled with the wet wood and the fact that the house is old and probably already had a pretty good amount of mold, and now there's more. So anyway, we started talking about this, and now I won't worry about this. So what the fix is going to be, I'm renting here month to month, so I can leave. So I'm going to leave. I don't know how I'm going to do that. So y'all pray for me, because I'm waiting for a check from for a car accident that I had. Someone hit me again. I've been hit like when I'm stopped, rear-ended by someone on their text or texting twice in the last 2 years. And then it seems like every time I'm better, I get hit again. And I was riding with my bike rack on my car. It hit me again. Anyway, and then I was hit the 3 years ago by someone turning in the wrong lane. I was supposed to go straight or turn, and they thought they were in my lane, so they wanted to turn. So they turned right into me and nearly got me into a pole. So anyway, waiting for a check on this last one. I have a target on my back, I'm pretty sure. So hopefully pray for me that that comes in so that we can get out of here as quick as possible. So we talked about it, and one of the things he said that we needed to do was to get an ultrafine HEPA filter. That'll help to kind of take some of this out. For Holden, he's already chelating. So Dr. Osborne was saying, thankfully, the chelating that we're doing is actually helping, is basically doing what he would have done anyway for the mold, helping to get all these toxins out of him. So we're already kind of doing something that's purging it out of his body, but we're basically, you know, we've got a sinking boat and we're just, you know, as it's filling with water, we're dumping it out. And what we need to do is stop the bleeding or stop the, you know, stop up the hole and move and get him out of this environment. So what he said was this, you know, his reaction could be one of two things. He could be allergic to different species of mold. I don't think he is, because we've already done mold allergies. I mean, it's possible that he's developed new ones, but I don't think that's what it is. And the other thing was, it's the toxins that the mold creates. So there's mycotoxins in his blood, which is probably more likely. Either way, it doesn't really matter. What he said was, you know, we could do a mycotoxin or mold allergy test. A mycotoxin test is a urine test. A mold allergies test is an allergies blood test on him. But we already know this is bad. We got to get out, period. So he said there were a couple things that we needed to do. And I asked him, because I was a little concerned about the new places. Like I'm looking at an apartment now just to kind of move quickly. And I'm worried about like the VOCs and the new stuff and the tiles that they put in. They're not real tiles. You know, it's not like, it's relatively cheap stuff compared to, you know, stuff that's super healthy for you. But he said no, that if he had a choice between living in an old house or a new place, he'd pick the new place every time. So that was comforting to hear. And then you basically want an ARMI score of less than 3 and to get a dehumidifier if possible. And then even when I move into the apartment, he said that the HEPA filter, the very fine HEPA filter would be the best thing that I could do. So I just wanted to let you know the update on Holden. I gotta hurry up and get into another meeting, but I will talk to y'all soon. And leave anything in the comments if you want me to answer any questions. Hopefully I explained it pretty well. We'll see what happens. I'll give you an update once we move, see how he's doing. Thanks so much, guys. Pray for me, like, subscribe, pass it along to your friends that might be having mold issues or Tourette's or autism or any other kind of things that are neurological problems, because that's what this causes. Anyway, much love. Bye, guys.